Hello, everyone, and welcome to Virtual Gentle Chair Yoga with Keith Beasley at the Public Library of Brookline. This program is sponsored by our friends of the Brookline Public Library, and as always, we always like to start with a brief disclaimer. Participation in this online yoga program could result in injury. Not all exercises presented here are suitable for everyone. These exercises are not intended to substitute for proper medical care or advice. Always consult your physician before beginning any exercise program. The creators, teachers, and producers assume no responsibility for injuries from participation in this program. And with that, apologies for the brief delay in getting started here. Here is Keith.
Thank you, Will. Let's start in our mountain pose. So always starting with the breath, and perhaps noticing as you're in mountain pose, just noticing any noises that are around you. And if you see anything moving around you, if you have your eyes open, go ahead and just make a note of that for a moment, and then begin to bring your attention a little closer to yourself. So there's things around us that we might notice, and then we can begin to notice things about ourselves, like our body, feeling our body. So start by feeling the feet. Start by feeling the feet on the earth. So you can do this either standing or seated. And then notice the buttocks if you're seated. Notice how the shoulders feel. Notice how the face and the eyes feel. And then feel the breath, feel the inside of the body expanding as we breathe in. And then as we exhale, the belly goes back in. So remember, during our class, we all breathe a little bit differently. So please take the cues on the breathing to remember to breathe in and out mindfully. But it doesn't need to be at the same time. In other words, you don't have to be breathing in when we say breathe in. It can be around, we want to just keep that flow of it, breathing in and breathing out, that reminder to keep a steady breath. And if you can, really a deep or maybe a full breath is a better way, a full breath, so that it feels like we're getting enough air, but without straining. It's very important not to strain. If we begin to strain as we breathe in, then the muscles tighten around the body and it becomes breath becomes less effective. We want the breath to be able to come and go with ease, like a guest, like you're inviting someone into your lungs and then letting them leave when they want to. Like a good host always makes everyone welcome, and then when they want to leave, you let them go. Inhaling and exhaling a couple more times, feeling the grounded feet, feeling the grounded buttocks, and the relaxed shoulders, face, and eyes. Spine is lifting and extending up. It's as if we're straightening the spine up or lengthening the spine. And then let's bring the palms together in front of the heart. Let's do a few, let's start with the sound of Om. So remember, the Om sound is the ah, oh, Think of the shape of the mouth. That really helps with the sound. Ah, big wide mouth. Oh, the O-shaped lips. And the is like we ate something really tasty, and the lips are together. So let's do a few. So these are natural breaths. We'll begin together, but please continue on your own. So even We don't need to be in sync. We follow our own breath. So let's breathe in together, and then we'll begin. We'll go about 30 or 40 seconds. So inhale, natural breath. The face and eyes are relaxed and soft. Natural breath. Relaxing the shoulders, the arms, the hands. Breathing naturally. Relaxing the feet and the legs. Softening the entire body as the spine extends up. And last one. Noticing the silence. Beginning with some sun breaths. So notice where the hands are right now, and notice how they align with each other. So see, I'll turn my hands so you can see. See if you can really align them so they're like a mirror image of each other. And that even includes where when we press the fingers together so that we can feel each part of the finger touching its opposite side on the other hand. So that might take a moment to line everything up, but see if you can do that and then feel its opposite side pressing into, so the two palms begin to feel like one palm, nice and even. And there's an even pressing from the shoulders too. Sometimes one side is a little stronger. See if you can make it feel even, and allowing the shoulders to relax down and the spine to extend up. And now inhale, and then as you inhale, the hands float up and around. So we'll do this a few times. Remembering adjusting the size of the circles to your own shoulders, whether or not they're big circles or small circles, doesn't really matter. We really want to start to feel the rotation in the shoulders, whether it's big or small, and the shoulders are relaxed and they're following the breath. So it's inhaling and exhaling down. If you begin to slow the hands down a little bit, you may influence the breath and it may slow down as well. So the hands are circling around. And then one more time, feeling balanced on the left and the right buttock, the left and right foot. Now bring the hands back to the front, and then find that evenness again in the fingers and the hands. Make sure even everything up, and then we'll go the other way. We'll release the hands down, and then we turn the palms up, inhale and come up. And if the chin wants to lift up and down a little bit, that's okay. Notice if the heart, the chest is moving forward and back with the movement. So usually as the hands float up, there's a natural lifting of the heart and the chest and an opening in the front. And then as the hands come together and come down, those shoulder blades begin to move out towards the sides a little, and the heart goes back. So you may remember when we bend the spine in 6 ways, we do that flexion and extension of the spine where the heart is moving forward and back. This is the same kind of idea. And coming down. So let's move it right into that. Resting the hands on the knees. and then inhaling and exhaling. So if you wanted to try this standing, it doesn't work quite as well, but you could bend the knees slightly, as long as, remember, there's no pain. We never want pain in our knees. You could bend the knees slightly and you could lift up and back like this, standing. Not, you don't, for me anyway, I don't feel it quite so much. The undulation of the spine is a little bit easier to do seated, but it's your choice. You could try it both ways if you wanted, if you're doing things standing. So I'm going back and forth. I'm inhaling and exhaling, feeling the movement with some ease. We want the movement to feel easy. So there's no forcing, even if the movement is small, even if the movement's only a little bit, even if it's just a micro movement. This is a smaller movement here. But if it's a free movement, an easy movement is better than a giant movement if you have to force the movement. So we want a freedom of movement. So it feels really nice. And the opening feels easy. The chest is opening and the shoulder blades are broadening as we exhale. So we inhale, the heart lifts, the chest opens, the collarbones spread apart. And then as we exhale, there's a slight rounding of the upper back as the shoulder blades move forward. And then the shoulders move back, the shoulder blades move in. Almost like, let's try this. It's a way to facilitate this. Hold the hands out like this and move the elbows back and then bring them forward and cross them. But keep the arms down low like this. So we start to get the shoulder blades, the heart's opening as the elbows go back, and then the shoulder blades are broadening as we come forward. So that's another way to encourage that this same movement, the arms are positioned differently, but the general movement in the chest and the shoulder blades is similar. So you could even experiment and you could try one or the other and see which one you like better and see which one gives you more movement in that upper spine. That's what we want. We want the spine to move easily without any pain or discomfort, without things going creaking or things popping all the time. We don't want to we want things to feel like they're moving with ease. And it feels nice to us. And sitting up nice and tall, and then reaching up, and then the other side. So I'm going to begin by extending up and opening that side of the body. And the feet and the hips are staying pretty much where they are. They're not really moving. If you start to feel like one hip is lifting up as you're reaching up, see if you can keep that hip down a little more. We don't want the hip to ride up too much. Notice I'm not leaning in the beginning. I'm using the lengthening of the arm to lengthen the side of the body from the hip, up the ribs, even the armpit is opening here. And that's going to help lengthen the spine as well. So as I lift the arm up and reach, think about lengthening the spine at the same time. So the upness is happening here in the center and here on the outside. And it's up, going up. So up, and then down, and up, and down. So we're using the arm kind of like a little extension to help lengthen the spine. And that helps to build space in the spine and also train the spinal muscles to elongate. So we want the spinal muscles to be able to hold the spine elongated. That creates more flexibility in the spine and we move with a little more ease. And then we can start to add a little bit of bending to the side. So we reach up first and then bend to the side. Reaching up first and then to the side. And this is a place where you may need to keep that opposite buttock down. And even the opposite foot, you might notice the foot wants to lift up. So keep the foot pressed down, just a little. So we want the feet and the buttock to feel grounded. If you're doing this standing, the same thing happens. There's a tendency for the foot to want to lift up. So see if you can keep it down flat on the floor. And by keeping it down, we're going to get a little more lengthening. So it's almost like the body is lengthening down and up at the same time. And then go ahead and bring the arms down, take a couple of breaths, and we're going to do some turning. So now, using the elbows, be mindful of the back of the chair if you're seated here, that you don't bang into the chair or the wall if you're near the wall. So I'm using the elbows to facilitate the turning in the torso. Think of that diagonal from the hip to the shoulder. We want to lengthen across here, like we were wearing if you've ever had a backpack where the strap goes across the middle, it's that same, not two like this, but one strap like this. Think about that strap moving across from the hip to the shoulder and moving the elbow back. And let's try circling the elbows a little bit. So I'm going to lift them up slightly, and move the elbow back. So the elbow's coming down and around when it goes back. And engage the belly here. So make sure you keep a good firmness in the belly here, so that as you begin to lean back a little bit, the spine stays lengthened. We don't want to round, no rounding like this. We never want our posture it's never helped by rounding the back like this, because it really squashes the front edges of the vertebra together. We do need enough strength in the belly, however, to be able to do this leaning back slightly. So you may have to build strength over some period of time for the abdomen. And then coming forward, and let's bring the hands up to the shoulders now, and now turn with the elbows moving back. So for this movement, we have to rely more on the abdominal muscles with the turning. I'm not using the elbows so much to help pull me back. I'm resting the hands, and then I'm moving the elbows back, but I'm not doing like this. I'm using my abdomen. So since we've been working with that feeling of diagonalness across here, see if you can feel that same feeling of diagonalness across the abdominal muscles here without using the elbows. They're just resting. The hands are resting on the shoulders, the elbows are resting. So we're starting to really wake the abdomen up here with a little bit of turning. A little bit of turning. And then coming forward, and then rolling the shoulders, and then the other way. So this turning is really good for, if we can get the abdominal muscles working, then we get better digestion and especially better elimination. Gently squeezing the intestines and the internal organs when the muscles contract and release. It's like it's as if you were to squeeze, if you did your hand like that, right? You'd squeeze your hand, you feel it get smaller, and then you release it and it gets bigger. Same thing's happening here. And let's go ahead and move from side to side. So you could do this standing as well. Just going, lifting up, working a little bit more for the abdomen now. The abdomen's warming up. It's warmed up maybe. If you want to make it more challenging, slow down a little bit. Don't go so quickly. Move everything slower, like slow motion. Much more challenging. we still need to be able to keep the abdomen engaged here and the spine lengthened. So notice if you slow down, does the spine collapse? Does the spine collapse like this when we slow down? If it does, then go faster again. So we want to be able to keep that length in the spine. It feels easier. It's almost like you're a rocket that's going to take off when I'm rocking like this. It's easier to keep lengthened. Thinking you could even do your hands like this if you wanted, lifting up to lengthen, and then coming back down and sliding back on the chair. We'll do a little bit for the legs. We want to warm up the quadriceps just with some lifting. So the important thing with the legs and the knees is making sure we're lifting straight ahead. So the toes are pointing up, and the knees and the hips and the tops of the ankles line up. So remember, the knee is a hinge joint. The knee is not made to twist like this. It'll do it a little bit, but it's not really, it's not ideal. And it's definitely not good to twist the knee and bend the knee at the same time. Kind of like the lumbar spine can be very sensitive to that too. The twisting and turning of joints at the same time is not always a good formula. Unless you have very good stability from the muscles and good mobility in the joint. Sitting up nice and tall, and we're going to rock the feet. And then rock the hands too. Hands are moving. And then lifting the feet, circling, and circling the hands. So the wrists. So we're really doing the ankles and the wrists here. See if you can keep them in time with each other. So whether or not you're going more quickly, or you're going slowly, change direction, please. And every once in a while, you might feel a little movement. You might get a click or a pop. Ideally, things are moving freely almost all the time. That once we get a little pop, we get a little release, things move freely. And then coming back down, let's lift the heels up. So we're going to do some heel raises. So to work on the strengthening of the calf muscle on the back here. So if you want to do it seated, slide more towards the front of the chair. And then we're going to lean a little bit forward as we lift up. So you can also do it standing. And if you need help with balance, you've got your chair. And you can stand behind the chair. And notice the position of the feet is similar to when we were seated. They're about hip width apart. And I'm just going to stand up like this. Or I should say, lift the heels up. Lift the heels up. And try to do it smoothly. So whether or not you're seated or standing, think about lifting smoothly. If you want more of a challenge, go slower. And it can become quite difficult to go slowly and to be smooth about it. It tends to be kind of, our muscles aren't necessarily used to that. So remember, and if you have any balance issues, please use a chair or stay seated when you do this. A few more lifts here. We want to be able to feel the calf muscles back here. So the working is happening right here between the heel and the back of the knee. But in the belly, we call this the belly of the muscle, the middle part. We don't want pain in the joints. We always want to feel the muscles working, but the joints feel okay. Joint pain is usually an indication that things aren't working so well. Actually, I should say it's always an indication that things aren't working so well. So we don't want to have joint pain. just like in yoga, we really don't want any pain, even muscular pain. So if you were to feel pain in the belly of the muscle, then the muscle's being overworked. So you want to back off so there's no pain. Maybe there's some work, you're feeling work, but no pain. And then sitting up nice and tall and sliding to the front of the chair, and then we're going to circle around. So as we circle, we want to be extending the spine. So in the beginning, you can make small circles. So it's really my shoulders that are circling in the same plane as the floor. So the shoulders are moving forward, side, back, forward, or back, side, forward, side, back, side, forward, side, back, and then the other way. And if you want to make it more challenging, you can begin to make the circles a little bigger. Still keeping the length in the spine. So we still want to be lengthening up. And if you want to make it still more challenging, you can add the arms in whatever position. So if they're not on the legs, and then the arms support us moving around, and we remove them from the legs, that gets progressively harder. The higher we move the hands, and the wider we move them. So be mindful of that. So you might not want to have big hands and big arms here. You might, and let's go the other way. You might want smaller hands and arms so that it feels okay. And sitting up nice and tall, and let's lift the chin and then release the chin down. So as you lift the chin up, think about extending the spine up with the chin slightly. So there's a lifting and then a releasing down. And what's going to happen is, as I lift the chin up, the heart comes forward slightly. So there's a little extension of the spine up, lengthening. And then as the chin comes down, there's a slight flexion. So you'll notice that the shape of the back changes a little bit relative to the chin. Now, you could practice this pose keeping the spine relatively straight or static and just moving the chin. Sometimes I like it a little better because it feels more holistic if I'm letting the spine move a little bit with the chin going up and down. So then the rest of the spine, when the chin goes up and down, the cervical spine has to move. And if I'm moving this and the thoracic and the lumbar a little bit at the same time, it seems to move a little more in unison. But that's just a personal preference. You might get a little more, you might prefer it actually just with the chin going up and down. So you have to decide that for yourself. And then we'll sit up tall or stand up tall. So remember, you could do this standing as well. And then we'll tip the head. So I may show you both ways, but you'll have to decide which one you want to do. And we can use our pillow too, so that we have a resting spot for the ear. We can also inhale up, exhale, rest. Inhale up. As you inhale, think about lengthening the spine, using the breath to help lengthen and get space between the vertebrae. And inhale up. And that's even the vertebra in the neck here are lengthening. That makes it a little bit easier to rest the ear on the shoulder too. So we'd like to be able to rest it so it feels really comfortable. And then let's come back up and we'll go side to side. And so for this one, if you're choosing to stand, It's good to have the eyes open for this one. If it does make you dizzy, so for some people, they may get dizzy from having the eyes open, turning the head like this, even slowly, you could get dizzy. Then please sit down and try it with the eyes closed and see if that helps it so you don't feel as dizzy. And then finally, we'll circle around. We're going to circle the chin around, the face around. Be mindful not to drop the head back too much. And then the other way. So I'd like to try we call this goddess pose. So I'll show it first seated, but you could, as the shape will be the same standing. So whether or not I'm seated like this, so goddess pose is the legs are turned out. Notice that the hip, the knee, and the toes are pointing in the same direction. Doesn't really matter how far I turn them out. You can, depending on how your hips are, will determine how far you can turn your legs out. And of course, if you've had a hip replacement, you need to be mindful of the restrictions that they gave you for the movement of the hip joints. We don't want anybody to throw their hip out. So better to err on the side of smaller opening rather than bigger. But if you know that you have good flexibility in the hips, its goddess pose looks like this. And it works best if you're towards the front of the chair so that the thighs are in the air. The thighs are in the air. It also gives us a feeling of sort of airiness around the legs. And then the hands are going to come up like this. And take a couple of breaths. Let's even do it like this. We'll bring the hands together. Inhale and exhale. So remember, nice and easy opening. We want some ease here. We want the arms to feel like they're opening without us forcing them open. It's like we're inviting them. We're inviting an invitation to come open. And then when you bring the hands together, you could also start bringing the elbows slightly closer. So some people will be able to touch the elbows. Some people won't. So if you're bringing the elbows together, don't force them together. A little bit of effort is okay, but if you have to force them, it's going to create a lot of tension in the body, and we don't want that. So if you wanted to do this standing, notice that it looks really similar, except if I had a really tall chair or a stool, this is kind of the same thing, right? The shape is the same, like this. So if you are doing it standing, you may want to bring the feet a little closer together, not turn them out quite so much to begin with, and then see how it feels, like this. So as I begin to sink the buttocks down, and the movement here is as if I was going to sit in a chair. So notice the back doesn't end up with a big curve in it as I sit down, almost like chair pose. We do chair pose sometimes like this. We want to be able to still keep the back. We don't want a big curve in the back and the belly sticking out. So if that happens, then the lower back has no support. We need to keep the belly firmed up as we come down. And that's going to limit how far we can come down. If you're seated, actually, let's all come back for a moment and take a couple of breaths. Let's rest. And inhale and exhale. Begin to give yourself a hug if you want. And then you can work the hands up the body. Until finally, perhaps you're going to touch the shoulder blades behind you. Remember, we want to do this with some ease. The shoulders are relaxed. They're not riding up towards the ears. And the shoulder blades feel like they're moving to this. When they come out to the sides, they feel comfortable. And a couple more. And then one more. And then come back. So let's do our eagle arms. So we're inhaling and exhaling a couple of times. And then start by, if you want to do the legs, it's, we'll do right over left like this, or right ankle over left ankle, or you can just have the legs like this. And if we have right over left, it's left over right. So begin by just crisscrossing the elbows like this, elbow in the crook of the other elbow. And that may be as far as you need to go, keeping the shoulders relaxed. And then the next step is to bring them up in a V shape like this, or anywhere in between, really. So you could begin, see how it feels as you begin to lift the elbows up. You might need to stop somewhere, remembering to keep the shoulders relaxed here. If the shoulders start to bunch up, you're going too high. And then if you practice regularly, you can eventually begin to intertwine like this. So that's the final step. So you'll be somewhere in between, crossed, a little bit up, beginning to cross. And if you're like this, remember you have your strap or cloth, whatever it is that you have available, that you could potentially hold on to. I like to, if I'm going to use one, I'll put it on the shoulder like this, and then it'll be ready. So when I go like this, I can just grab it off my shoulder. And then I'll be able to link my hands like this. Shoulders are relaxed here. And then go ahead and release. And let's uncross to the other side. So if you're doing the legs or the ankles, we'll cross the left over right now. Oh. And if you're using a strap or a cloth or a towel, put it over your shoulder. And so this is left over right, so we have right over left. I always try, sometimes I'll do it backwards. So I'm crossing, and then I'm going to come up. That's the next step. And see, I'm going to do, so what we were doing left over right. I'm going to do this, and I'll show it this way with the ankles, left over right. Like this. Oh, maybe it's the other way. Yeah, so I think this one is left over right, right over left, right over left. Like this. And this side is not as easy for me, so I'll take the strap and use that to help. So the most important thing, especially in eagle pose, is to stay relaxed, is to breathe and not be in a big hurry. Because what happens is we're all kind of we're bunched up a little bit here. So I'll turn sideways so you can see. We need to be relaxed enough so we can continue to breathe with ease. So relaxing the shoulders down. If you want to move to the next step and you can intertwine the hands together, you can begin to lift the elbows out and up slightly, but no higher than the shoulders. So we don't want to lift the elbows above the shoulders, only even. And then when you're ready, you can release the hands, uncross the arms, uncross the legs. Remembering to keep the breath going, and that's in all the poses. And it's especially true whenever we get in a pose that's challenging, or the most challenging poses that we do, the single most important thing you can do is to keep breathing. And as you exhale, to relax. So sitting up nice and tall, take a couple of breaths. And as you exhale, give a sigh. Let's do a little bit of bouncing and a little bit of work for the legs. So we'll start with tree pose, coming out like this, and then bringing the foot in so that we can feel the weight on the buttocks in the chair, or we could be standing here and extending the arms up like this. Lengthening the spine here, pressing that front foot down and breathing, extending the spine up. Each time we inhale is an opportunity to lift and extend the spine. And each time we exhale is an opportunity to soften the shoulders and the face and the eyes. Keep the spine long though. So there's a little more effort in lengthening when we inhale, when we have that feeling of the buoyancy from the breath in, and then we feel the relaxation as we exhale, but keep the spine long or leave the spine long. And then go ahead and please lower down, bring the foot back. Sit up tall and then step the foot out again. And then bringing that foot into the inside of the chair. And of course, if you're standing, then you'll bring the sole of the foot on the inside of the calf. We never put it on the knee though. Don't put your foot on the knee. And then inhaling, extending up, extending the spine, softening the face and eyes. Each time we inhale, we extend, we lengthen the spine, lift, become buoyant. Each time we exhale, we relax and soften and keep the spine lengthened. Shoulders relax when we exhale. If the arms come down a little, that's okay. Sometimes that'll actually help to release the shoulders, and then we can raise the arms again. And the shoulders might even stay down a little bit more if we give them a chance to go back down, and then lowering the arms down. And we'll do it one more time standing, or I'll show it standing. And we're going to do some other standing balancing poses, or combination strengthening balancing today. That's going to be our focus today, because it's time to get out and about. It's finally getting warmer. Yay, although it's getting better today. It was a little chilly yesterday. And there was even a little snow when I was out. We went under a dark cloud and there was a little bit of snow. So even though it wasn't even close to freezing, standing up tall and then stepping the foot out. And actually, if you'd prefer, you could also do crane pose like this, just lifting the foot up. So we do it step by step. If we step the foot out, lift the heel first, so most of the weight is still on this standing leg, and extend the spine up. And then you can decide what you want to do with the foot, whether or not it comes in and it's on the inside of the calf, or if you're seated, it comes to the outside of the chair leg. And then you can add the arms to it like this. And then the next step is, we don't do the knee, but you could bring the foot up to the inside of the thigh, if that's comfortable for your knee. So for many people, this is it's too much for the knee, but you can also do like this. We always want to be mindful, whenever we're turning joints and bring the foot down, we also want to be mindful that the joints feel okay. If they don't, then we need to go back in the other direction. We need to move out of the pose, and then we'll do the other side, standing up nice and tall, and then stepping the foot out. So we start out with the foot just opening. You could even let's try this, like a little dance step. So most of my weight is on here, just a little bit on the tip of my toe when I step out. And then I can bring the foot into the calf and add the arms. Notice my foot's not on the knee. I don't want to bring it up to the knee joint like this. I want to have it down on the calf or all the way up in the inside of the groin, with the heel up towards the groin itself. Remember to breathe, extend the spine, and then come back down. Okay, so let's do a little bit I have my chair here. So I'm going to stand behind the chair, and this is going to be for strengthening and balancing. And we're going to work first with the buttocks. I'm going to step back. I'm going to actually put my hand, I can have one hand on the chair. See if you can put one hand on the buttock. And as you step back, squeeze the buttock. So we want the buttock to feel like it's engaging. And sometimes, because we sit so much, the buttocks don't really work so well because we're just sitting on them all the time. It tends to sort of make them flat and not responsive. So I'm going to gently straighten the leg and then bend the knee like this. So hopefully you can see that. Let me put my foot a little further back. So I'm going to bend and straighten like this as a way to kind of wake up the buttocks. So once you can feel it engaging, you don't have to have your hand there, but the hand is there because you can feel when it firms up and you can feel when it relaxes. So it's firm. I'm extending the leg, and then I bend the knee slightly and I feel it relax. It may not totally relax, but it relaxes. So you can feel the difference. Like squeezing your hand. You squeeze, you feel it, you feel the tension in the hand, you relax, it softens. So now we'll do the other side. So we'll step back first like this. And notice that when I step back, the front of the body is lifting up. Don't collapse like this. See if you can just keep a normal posture like this. So I step back and then I straighten. And if I need to, I can put my hand on the buttock to feel the buttock. So there's a slight bend in the knee and then a straightening, and that firms the buttock up. So I'm going to do this a few times. And now we're going to go back and forth. So if you want more of a challenge for balance, you don't have to use the chair. You can remove your hands and you have the chair handy if you need it. But we're going to step forward and then we're going to go back and straighten the leg and firm the buttock up like we just did. And then when I step forward, it's going to release the buttock. If you put your hand here when your foot's forward, you notice that the gluteal muscles release. And they're soft because they're no longer contracting. So I'm going to go back and forth like that. Notice that when you put your foot back and you straighten the leg, that you can feel this line of energy moving up to help lift the spine up. And then I release and step forward, and that releases here. And you'll notice some work going on in the standing leg. Also some balance required in the standing leg as I step forward and back. And remember, if you need the chair, even just to rest a finger or several fingers on it helps for balance. We want to be working, but we don't want to be wobbly. And we certainly don't want to fall over. Let's try it on this side. So we're going to step back. So just switch sides and then forward, back and forward. And so if this is no problem, you can step forward, step back and lift your arm up like this. Lengthening up like a dancer. And letting the hand, so we're lengthening up, and then as the foot comes forward, the hand comes back. And lengthening up. And see if you can be looking straight ahead so that the spine, so if I was facing you like this, say without the chair, if I was facing you like this, I would be nice and straight. So my spine is straight. So if there's a tendency, if I have to turn my head like this, it tends to curve the spine. And I'd like to be nice and straight, or as straight as I can be. None of us are perfectly straight. I can go back and forth. I can even do both hands up like this, as long as that's okay for balance. So that would look like this from the side. Let's see if we can, this, and then back like this. You might even find a little rhythm here, a little rhythm with the arms and the legs going back and forth. And it's definitely harder for balance. So be mindful of that, and be, in the beginning, work with the hands on the chair. And as your balance gets better, you feel your balance better, try one hand. And then you could try one hand lifting up with one hand on the chair, one hand lifting up. And then you could try both hands if you wanted. But work up to it slowly, over a period of time. And so a little bit more. I have my chair here, and I'm going to step forward and back, forward and back, without extending the leg this time. So I'm going to step and step like this, almost as if I'm walking. So if I was to walk, my foot would come down and I would step like this. And if I was to walk backwards, I would go like this. So it's almost like walking forward and back. So now this leg over here is the one doing most of the work. So I'm doing this forward and back. And then I can add going to the side as well. That can be kind of fun. So it's forward, back to the middle, and then out to the side, back to the middle, and then back and back. So depending on how your opposite leg is feeling, if it's feeling overworked, just do the forward and back like this. Or just switch legs. So this leg's starting to get tired from doing that. So it got forward and back like this. And I have my chair if I need it. Notice I'm not leaning. And I'd like to look straight ahead if I can. And then if I want to add to the side, it's forward, step, side, back, and back. So back to the center, step forward, back to the center, feet are together, out to the side, back to the center, and then step back and back to the center. So these are good exercises if you can do just a couple of minutes on a regular basis. It's really good for building strength and balance in your practice. And you may find that as you build strength, especially strength in the buttocks, so in order for the knees to function well, they really rely on the quadriceps and the buttocks and the hamstrings to stabilize the knee. And also, what I like to do is after I exercise, especially the buttocks and the quadriceps, a little bit of massaging for the knees. So I'm not right on the kneecap, I'm on the sides. So the muscles are coming down here along the leg, and then they attach or they wrap over, some wrap over the knee, but I'm working around the knee. The knee is right here. I'm kind of working around it and massaging the muscles a little bit. So it feels nice. So we want to find a massage that feels good. There's no pain. If you're massaging and there's pain, probably not the best thing. And the same thing on the opposite leg. So sometimes working these muscles a little bit around the knee is a nice way to comfort them after they've been working, if we've been using them a lot, like we just were. So sitting up nice and tall. And let's do a little turning. So actually, you could do this standing as well if you wanted. So if you're still into standing, you could stand and turn, keeping the knees soft here. Knees are soft. Or you could do it seated. Your choice. So remember, we're going to start to warm down now. So remember hydration. during the rest of today. As it starts to get warmer, please make sure that you're properly hydrated. And I'm going to sit back in the chair. We'll do some sun breaths together. And exhale around. If you feel like it, you can lean back slightly against the back of the chair to help open the heart and support the back. Just make sure the buttocks is all the way in the back of the chair and that the back of the chair is pretty much vertical. We don't want to have one of those chairs. It's like we're leaning back and doing this. I mean, you could try it, but I wouldn't recommend it. You can always experiment with yourself, just being careful. Be very careful when you experiment, and then going the other way. And then resting the hands and coming into your comfortable, your mountain pose, your relaxation pose. So mountain pose and relaxation are very similar, but we don't use quite so much when we relax. We dial back the effort. We still want a lengthened spine, but without so much effort to lengthen it. The shoulders are relaxed, the face and eyes are soft, releasing the jaw, releasing the tongue, and softening the throat. Softening the rib cage, relaxing the buttocks and the legs, softening the feet and the toes. Noticing that the spine is long, even as everything around it is relaxed. There's that little bit of extra effort in the spine, but the rest of the body is soft and relaxed all around it. Noticing the belly moving in and out with the breath. Finding an ease in the breath, in the movement of the breath. Exhaling and relaxing, softening, releasing. And not just the body. When we exhale and we relax, we can also relax the mind. So let go of any tension. Let go of any worries. And if thoughts come into the mind, they can come in, but just let them leave, like that nice guest. We let them come in, and then we just leave the door open and they leave. So we'll stay like this for about another minute or so, and then please consider staying a little longer in Shavasana. 5 or 10 minutes is really nice. Even longer if it's comfortable and you can spare the time. It can be helpful to set a little clock of some kind, or something on your watch, or just even notice on your clock and give yourself 5 minutes or 10 minutes. And then when the time is up, you can move on with your day. So we'll see everyone next time.